I'm the Tito that will be the first one to be like, go, run, and don't come back until you hurt your knees or fallen. That's one. And the other one, I'm always the one like, for the ones that are getting older, go travel, go get into it. And most importantly, I think since I'm breaking the family curse by keeping the 100 pounds off and I've reversed my diabetes, I've reversed my high blood pressure, I've reversed my cholesterol, I've reversed my allergies, I've reversed the mental health issues that come with, including depression and anxiety, with being inflamed. So it isn't just excess weight, it's excess weight because the body is struggling to process all of the toxins and the foods that are difficult to process. So part of that is your brain. And so I also feel like that's probably the most critical piece, is to not have something impeding the way you make decisions, your outlook on life. I couldn't imagine serving an institution as important, especially in this time of pandemic and social reckoning. I mean, there's essentially a culture war at play. And the Wayne Luke Museum plays a central role in staving off, basically the increasing and increasingly radicalizing white supremacist attacks on our stories, our right to live, our right to be, the places that we occupy, our stories, our truths are literally at stake right now, because it's those kinds of things that are driving the increasing book bans in different states, attacks on K-12 curriculum or about the American narrative. So all that to say is that all of that big social movement stuff, how the heck are we going to get to it if we are not ready to physically and mentally, because of all that good food? And I make that correlation because it really, I wonder sometimes about, do the foods that we love so much that we photograph. And I don't want to be a killjoy, because at the end of the day, I always say that one of the biggest Filipino superpowers is our sense of humor. So I'm struggling to find a sense of humor around the paradox of the way not only we love food, but the way we identify and find our empowerment through food culture, and in the ways that it's also not loving us back and literally killing us quicker. I'm happy and I'm enthusiastic to kind of get these messages out, because I want to have a conversation, because what's at stake is the lives of my nephews and nieces, and our next generation. And I don't know, I'm excited about the idea that we could reckon the sense of pride and empowerment that we have in advancing and centering our cultural, our culture, but not at the expense of our health, not at the expense of our public health. And I think I would like to find a way to have some kind of generative and even joyful way of engaging this discussion about celebrating our cultural foods that love us back. I just don't think we've gone back far enough. I think one of our masters, a cultural kind of preservationist, and he specializes in ancestral marks, Lane Wilkin. I don't know if you know Lane Wilkin, who does traditional batok, or traditional tattoo, where it's tapped. Manong Lane. So Manong Lane, who's also our family priest and also did these, is an incredible cultural scholar. And one of the things that he floats up is that the things that we recognize today as Filipino food and other Filipino kinds of things, there's been a kind of for generations now, a way that we'd forgotten the context that the food we recognize as Filipino food is actually party food, fiesta food. And what's important about that is you're not meant to eat fiesta food every day or even on a regular basis. Much of the food I grew up with had some of the, by that time, I have a family, I come from a large, extended, brilliant family that is struggling with food addiction and all of the problems that come with it, which is diabetes, which is cancer, which is all of the kind of diet and lifestyle related issues that come with food addiction, which is prevalent and seems to be increasing in the Filipino diaspora. So all of that, as that's happening, I think about my mother's mother and my father's mother, both who broke the pattern and lived into their 90s. They ate separately. They did all the work to make the food, all the physical labor to get the food to the kitchen, the marketing, all of that. And when they served it with love, primarily my mother's mother. And I wondered whether or not it was that surviving World War II where she kind of got into just making sure that her family was always fed. But she would have a separate plate. And I got a feeling other Filipinos have seen this, where she would just have a very different plate. Very plain, mostly just sabaw, like some kind of thin broth, some vegetable, a little bit of rice, maybe a half a banana, maybe a small piece of fish. She lived to 96, 97. My mother didn't live to 54. She died at 53. My father died soon after. I've outlived them already. So this is where maintaining that 100-pound weight loss is the revolution, is Filipino empowerment. And you can get all the tattoos and the t-shirts and the apparel and you can do all the food selfies, but at the end of the day, how are you just staying alive and being well is the ultimate fuck you to white supremacy, is the ultimate fuck you to colonialism, so let's say fuck you. I think it's important, the histories that we floated up that white supremacy often suppresses, but we were limited in our ability to provide solutions to the challenges we were facing because of colonialism and white supremacy. And instead, we've armed generations of people like us, of people, to look at cultural markers that creates, I think, a very real sense of pride, but it's not substantive. It's not as substantive as your health, as your mortality. I think we've settled for too little for momentary sense of empowerment, when what we should really be looking at is, are we creating the things, are we developing for ourselves as individuals and as community, the things that create generational wealth and health, which is property, in a capitalist system, like it or not. Is it focused on strategies around property and community development? Is it centered, is our success centered not on, and I'm not diminishing it, the delight and the empowerment that comes from better understanding our history, Tagalog, Filipino, whatever, or is it rooted in indicators that are, we're living longer generation per generation. We're living happier generation per generation, but instead we're focused on the food product, right? So it could be sold, and even authenticity becomes a marker of value. Is it talagang Filipino food? I think who the fuck cares if it's gonna kill you, whether it's plentiful or not plentiful. I saw plenty of that takaw, that kind of avarice. I was just in Vegas, right? And not to mention choke brown people, migrant who you could just see it. It's so funny. There's always a running joke about what Las Vegas does. And, Filipinos don't even say eat, all you can eat. We say eat all you can, right? It's like straight up. But you could literally feel the vibe and see what's next. Like, what can I get next? What about that exciting show? What about, and I think to myself, bro, there's the revolution right there. One, just notice that you're all in that mode. And what is that mode really about? I was like, eat all you can all the time. Eat all you can all the time. And then I think, what are the underlying issues that have created lifelong patterns and habits for us to override our body's natural ability to say enough? So where does enoughness and the empowerment that comes with arriving individually and collectively with a sense of enoughness that will advance our culture? At this rate, it's all, if the way it's going, it's all moving like, well, you're a popular and successful endeavor. Well, whether it's a restaurant or an apparel business, the more you can sell. But what is your impact? And this is why I love Earthbound Family. This is Irene Tanguarango and her family. I love it, one, because it's a family scale business and it's personal for Irene, and I forget her name, Ricky and Chef Ricky, right? They freaking care. They are doing this kind of, their mission is about presenting foods that are delightful to us, that feed us, but also mostly love us back, right? More so than I think even some of the Michelin star ones. And I just want more. It doesn't even have to be plant-based, but that's what they're choosing. But they're coming in with the intent to sustain their kind of their own practice, their own art, just literally sustain their family. And they're doing something generative to advance our culture. I think that definitely, Chera guys, all those guys, I think we all have access to levers and controls. I want to, as generatively and as gently as I can, advocate for that, because I love them. And I know they love their families and they love their customers, but I would love to see that care and love really make a connection to their menu that also finds a way to sustain those businesses, because that is important, right? So I think there's solutions that are possible, but I think it comes with an intent and a critical mass of people doing it. Now, arts and cultural institutions like the Wing Luke Museum definitely has a role to play, because we engage with not only artists and art and activists, but essentially these are public intellectuals. Like the work that I do, this interview, is where we can convey messages that advance not only our mission to empower our diaspora across Asian and Pacific Islander groups, but I'm just at the early stages of my directorship, and one of our most successful programs is the food tours, the dumplings, the grilled things and chicken wings, the noodle, the rice. And I haven't done a thorough audit with a public health eye on it, because and I think that there are ways that we can improve and make those connections for the people who love going to our tours, which does many good things, which introduces people not only to new food, but to new food by businesses in the CID. It promotes and increases CID participation, and we get visitors and Seattle locals to pay attention to and get invested in the life of the CID. So how do we do that and turn it up so that we're also promoting a way of engaging the foods? And I don't know if this can be done with foods that love you back, so that we're not just contributing or having either I don't want a neutral effect or worse, further contribute to the harm. I actually want to have a generative effect, and I don't know what that is yet. So there's plenty of work to be done, and everybody has a role in doing this.